Episode 56, KR November 1st, 2023. Headlines: Science Moms, American Lung Association, and it's all about the electrical grid. Science Moms email. November 1st, 2023. Your voice is your power. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity and relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. We're learning about climate change, we're talking about climate change, we're swapping out dirty energy for clean energy, and we're making progress. Maybe you even found a group of like-minded moms to take action with. Us science moms are so proud and appreciative of you. The efforts you are making and telling us about are nothing short of fantastic. Talk to your leaders. We know climate change is important, but it doesn't feel important if no one is talking about it, and that includes our leaders. Let your leaders know you mean business when it comes to protecting your kids. They have the power to make the changes we need, but it's on us to let them know we care. Ask your local leaders about their plans to stop big polluters, and how they're investing in our kids' future. You never know how inspiring one letter can be. Use the template we've created to speak up to leaders in your area. Write a letter, use your vote. Climate change affects all of us, but only our leaders can commit to large-scale, clean energy investments. This means we need them to be just as invested in our kids' future as we are.
https://climatechangesolutions/utm_source/sequels/sm_welcome series_work finder and utm_medium=email and utm_button and utm_term=email and American Lung Association email November 1st, 2023. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity and relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. Hello, this past summer, the impacts of climate change were impossible to ignore. It seemed like every week we saw an unprecedented climate disaster. The skyline of New York City turned orange from wildfire smoke, and Los Angeles was hit by a hurricane. People nationwide have seen this year that climate change is not a future threat. It's here, and it's harming our health now. The Biden administration and EPA have been working on several policies to clean up sources of pollution, and now they need to get them across the finish line. The nation urgently needs a suite of strong protections finalized that will clean up pollution from cars, trucks, power plants, and the oil and gas industry. Join the American Lung Association in urging President Biden and EPA, don't delay, clean air today. Don't delay, clean air today. https://a.lung.org/n3i095. Thank you. American Lung Association. New York Times. Climate Forward Newsletter. October 31st, 2023. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity and relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. It's all about the grid. 1. New England Clean Energy, reported from Maine. Delays cost the project big money. In April 2022, the NYT reporter traveled to Maine to report on a stalled effort to bring clean hydropower from Canada to New England. Mistrustful residents had sued to block the 145-mile transmission line. The project, known as New England Clean Energy Connect, NECEC, finally overcame its legal hurdles this summer. More than a year after the NYT reporter's story ran, construction is beginning again. But because of the delays, the project is now expected to cost $1.5 billion, up 50% from its original price tag. NECEC is emblematic of the broader problems bedeviling American electricity grids. 2. $1.3 billion to help build power lines across 6 states. The Biden administration announced plans Monday to spend $1.3 billion to help build power lines across 6 states. It's not nearly enough. It's a $1 trillion-plus problem, said a NYT colleague of the reporter. It's such a massive challenge that's going to require states, utilities, and private investors to get on board, a bunch of rule changes, and most likely federal regulators. 3. The United States and other nations need to reinvent their electrical grids. Unless the US and other developed countries reinvent their electricity grids, the revolution in clean energy that has given us radically cheaper solar and wind power will be for naught. The clean energy will have nowhere to go. Point A to point B. It's easy to lose sight of the importance of the grid and just how much work needs to be done. 4. Solar and wind are cheaper far from the geographic locations where they are needed. Solar panels and wind turbines are coming online at a record pace, and clean energy is getting cheaper and more reliable than ever before. But clean power sources are often situated far from cities where the most people live. 5. New electricity transmission lines are needed. That means new transmission lines are needed.
Building them is arduous and expensive, and often faces local opposition. And yet without a huge amount of new power lines, the United States is going to have a very tough time meeting its clean energy goals. The Department of Energy says the nation's vast network of transmission lines may need to expand by 2/3 or more by 2035 to I6. Existing electrical grids need to be improved. In addition to building new lines, there's also the challenge of improving existing grids. 7. Current energy projects are overwhelming the current grid. The boom in clean energy ventures has also overwhelmed the system for connecting new power sources to homes and businesses. More than 8,100 energy projects, the vast majority of them wind, solar and batteries, were waiting for permission to connect to electric grids at the end of 2021, up from 5,600 the year before. Sometimes you have existing lines where they are basically at capacity, they're full and they can't handle adding more wind power or solar power, or sometimes the networks can't handle a bunch of people plugging in their electric vehicles all at once, so they need to be upgraded. 9. There is no single energy grid in the United States. There is no single U.S. electric grid. Instead, there are 3 major grids, further divided into a patchwork of operators with competing interests. It's divided up and balkanized into regional grid operators and utilities, that often makes it very hard to build connection between these regions. 10. The electrical transmission problem is global. The International Energy Agency, IEA, sees a need for roughly 50 million miles of new or upgraded power lines by 2040 if countries want to meet their clean energy goals. That's equivalent to nearly doubling the size of the world's existing electric grids in just 2 decades. 11. A gusher of money. The new money allocated by the Biden administration will help construct 3 large power lines across 6 states. It's part of a gusher of money being spent on efforts to bolster the grid and get it ready for the clean energy future. That big outlay suggests that the administration understands the importance of upgrading the grid and is willing to spend real capital and political capital to make it happen. Because without a better grid, Biden's ambitious emissions reductions goals could be out of reach. If we have to put a lot of this new renewable energy in suboptimal places because we don't have the grid, that means higher costs, but it could also be that a lot of clean energy just can't get built, and then we end up relying more on the gas plants and coal plants that we already have, which would make the climate goals pretty difficult, if not impossible to achieve. 12. The 1.5 degrees Celsius window is closing. 5 years and change. That's how long humans can keep pumping carbon into the atmosphere at our current rate before we're likely to push global warming past the most ambitious limit set by the Paris Agreement, according to new estimates released yesterday by a team of climate scientists. The calculations add weight to a dismal conclusion that many researchers have already accepted: we are cutting emissions far too slowly to have much hope of keeping warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius, or 2.7 Fahrenheit, compared to pre-industrial levels. That's the threshold beyond which scientists say the likelihood of climate catastrophes significantly increases. Already, human activity has raised average global temperatures by about 1.2 degrees Celsius. The most promising paths for avoiding 1.5 degrees are clearly gone, a climate scientist at Imperial College London who worked on the new projections said at a news briefing. And they have been gone for a while, to be honest, he added. 13. Having an up-to-date picture of emissions and warming can still help governments figure out how to meet less ambitious climate goals, including the Paris Pact's second-best limit of 2 degrees Celsius. Every extra increment of warming increases the risk of dangerous heat waves and wildfires. Read the full story here. The Biden administration approved a plan to install up to 176 giant turbines off the coast of Virginia, which would be the nation's largest offshore wind farm. The United Kingdom reversed its earlier stance and will back a moratorium on commercial deep-sea mining, The Guardian reports. The World Bank said a major escalation of the war between Israel and Hamas could send oil prices surging. Britain's largest steel plant may switch from dirty blast furnaces to cleaner electric arc technology, but workers fear jobs will be lost. Climate scientists, long measured in their language, are raising the alarm with increasingly dire language, The Washington Post reports. Future Risks Report 2023, Decrypting the Polycrisis. AXA's Future Risks Report, now in its 10th edition, sheds light on the global risks landscape in 2023, supported by the insight of 3,500 risk experts in 50 countries and 20,000 members of the public. This year's report describes a world grappling with a polycrisis, as climate change and geopolitical instability compound dangerously with emerging technological threats. The survey finds that people feel vulnerable to these risks, but remain optimistic about our ability to tackle future crises. Read the report https://www.axa.com/and/news/2023-future-risks-report. Episode 56, KR November 1st, 2023. Headlines. World, COP28, Carbon Credits Controversy. COP28 faces debate over controversy mired carbon credits, barons that could be anything from fighting deforestation, replacing wood-burning stoves, or replacing coal-fired power plants with wind turbines. 1. Europe, least forested countries. 25 least forested countries in Europe. Yahoo Finance. Wood and coal-fired steam engines were at the heart of early advances, however, just like the consequences of burning fossil fuels have led to. Florida, Tallahassee. New video, Hurricane Idalia debris pile, still burning in Jefferson County. WTXL, the only concern would be wind. That debris pile of ashes and wood continues to burn. We'll continue to manage it by pushing it together until it's. Indiana, Bedford. Crews respond to smoke in residence in southwestern Shawnee County. WIBW officials said the. Kansas, Topeka. 2 people escaped smoke-filled house early Tuesday in southwestern Shawnee County. WIBW wood-burning stove. Louisiana, New Orleans. Even with fire contained near Bayou Savage, NOLA East residents smell smoke. WDSU Novice Hill lives in New Orleans East and said, "You can almost smell it in your house. Felt like someone was burning wood in my front yard. When I." Oklahoma, Hera. 1 injured in building explosion near Hera. News 9 crews say the shop had a wood-burning stove and paint cans close by, which could have caused the explosion. The explosion has caused smoke in the. Oregon, Eugene. Lane Regional Air Protection Agency receives nearly $1 million for wildfire smoke mitigation. KESI. Other elements of the project include finding economically feasible uses of forest wood waste to reduce the buildup of fuels, improving emergency. Texas, San Antonio. Odor of smoke brought firefighters to same apartment hours before it went up in flames. KSAT. "I'm telling you, it smells like burning wood," she said. A few hours later, Espinoza said she woke up to even thicker smoke inside her apartment. Texas, Dallas County. Dallas County has some of the worst pollution in the nation from gas-powered lawn equipment. Kara News published October 31, 2023, Facebook. And at the same time, the equipment released 245 tons of particulate matter, 2.5 PM 2.5. Texas, Lavaca County, Sheridan fire crews put out chimney fire in Story. Sheridan Media SVFD units arrived on scene and provided an update of the conditions, finding smoke coming from the eaves, near the chimney and inside along the. Virginia, Winchester. Clark supervisors delegate authority to limit outdoor burning. The Winchester Star. Burning garbage, liquid wastes, or solid wastes is against the law in Clark County. Most of the time, burning wood, brush, grass, shrubbery. China. New method enhances air quality model accuracy. Mirage New sulfate, SO42-, is a main component of PM 2.5 in China. The chemical formation mechanisms of sulfate are complex, and many air quality models. India. Indians are choking on pollution. How can it be stopped? The Indian Express pollutants that are monitored for air quality include particulate matter less than 10 and 2.5 microns per cubic meter, PM10 and PM 2.5 respectively. India. Local emissions top. Delhi's bad air mix. Hindustan Times. Particulate matter, PM 2.5 every day. According to DSS, vehicles contributed around 13.9% to the very poor air quality on Monday, followed by India. Why this polluting gas, NO2, is what you should worry about. It may land you in ER, says AIIMS study. The Indian Express. This is alarming because an increase in the levels of the more familiar pollutant PM 2.5 pushed up the patient load by 19.5% in comparison. India, Delhi. Daily average air quality in Delhi, for the 10-month period between January-October 2023. Press Information Bureau. This period in 2023 has also witnessed a remarkable reduction in daily average PM 2.5 and PM10 concentrations over the last 6 years. The period during India, Delhi. Ways to manage air pollution in Delhi. Hindustan Times. A combination of wood burning to fight the bitter cold, post-harvest crop burning to get the soil ready for the next crop, emissions from India, New Delhi. New Delhi gasps for breath as air quality remains very poor. DD News, PM10 levels at 322 and PM 2.5 levels at 155. Anything above 60 is considered unhealthy. The index measures levels of airborne PM 2.5 particles. India, Mumbai. Why Mumbai had poor air quality in October. India spend what is PM 2.5 and PM 10. Particulate matter measuring less than 10 micrometer in diameter has the ability to penetrate deep into the respiratory. PM 2.5 and breast cancer. Exposure to air pollution at home and work linked to breast cancer. Cancer Therapy Advisor. Researchers found that an increase in exposure to particulate matter measuring 2.5 microns or less, PM 2.5, was associated with a significant increase. PM 2.5 and children. Cumulative effect of PM 2.5 components is larger than the effect of PM 2.5 mass on child. Nature. Using multiple logistic regression, we showed that for every 10 μgm-3 increase in PM 2.5 exposure, anaphlormia, acute respiratory infection, and low